Hello and welcome to the Dungeons and Dragon Wagon Chapter 10 and season finale round table.
We made it.
We are all here, every one of us. I don't know where Campfire Jones is.
He's in the kennel.
I see some of the podcasts.
He's just hanging.
He voluntarily walked into his kennel where he sleeps.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't believe that
like,
for a
fuck
minute.
you guys.
You guys, we did it.
You guys.
Made it.
We made it.
You guys.
Looks like we made it. I don't know the rest of these words. Wow, chapter 10 has come and gone. The season has come and gone. I was going to say, I feel like the season did not come and go in a blink of an eye.
We're such different people than when we started.
Did you say we're 6 different people?
Such different people.
Oh, that's like we're 6 different people. I was like, wow, it's been so long that we've multiplied.
Alexandra is pregnant with twins.
Hey.
And this is her finding out right now.
Yeah, and me too.
Jake, your face was genuinely scared.
It's like, wait a minute.
One is yours. The others is Shell's.
Oh, no.
Plot twist.
Shit, you guys.
That's so funny.
Chapter 10 was so fun. It was so stressful.
Yes,
Like,
Jake.
playing that game was so stressful.
How many hours total do you think you spent editing?
Oh, I wasn't even talking about playing it, but also the post-production, yes, a very long time. That's because I wanted it to be really good.
You care. You care immensely.
Yeah, I wanted it to fit the spectacle of the gameplay, but I just remember
Succeeded.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I remember playing the game though, and just feeling like, well, this is the end of it. Like we're not.
I know.
It's not like we're gonna get this thing that happens, and then we go, well, let's get another guest of quest, and then we do another thing with these characters.
The stakes are so high because we all went into it saying like any of us could die. It could be permanent.
Yeah.
Like this is it. Which one of us almost did.
No, he did. He did die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like the equivalent of when you're brought back with the shocker things, the name I can't remember.
The shocker things.
What are they called?
Defibrillator?
There you go, defibrillator. Except it was Orny and his magical potion.
Yeah, and Orny tried to die, but Junk wouldn't let him.
Right.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's.
And Adeline tried to turn into a crab.
And she succeeded
She succeeded.
for a while.
Speaking of trying, our guest of quest for the final chapter was Kevin Allen.
So
Nailed it.
So trying.
goddamn
Wonderful.
He tried so hard.
Well, the reason I say that is because he had never played an RPG before.
Can you even
Oh,
believe
yeah.
that, people listening?
And we dumped him
'Cause-
into our season finale.
No, but honestly, he was incredible.
Yeah.
great.
He did great.
I just can't believe that though.
I know.
He's such like any
A
RPG.
nerd.
He said he had never played
He
a
was
single
so
RPG
organic.
or
Like
DD
because
ever.
he's such a Potterphile.
But-
so like I just can't believe he couldn't have played like
Well, here's
a
the
Harry
thing.
Potter
I think you're
thing.
right. I think you're right.
But you say that, but like he's an actor, he's an improviser. He
Right.
has. I'm sure he is like he cosplays. So I'm sure he has.
What you're saying
done-
is he's actually trained and able to just jump
Yeah.
in and
Like, what I'm getting
apply
at is
skills.
It's not far out from his wheelhouse of just who he is as a person,
Right.
Which is why I think that it was such an easy thing for him.
One
to-
could venture to say he's never lived in reality.
Does he? Was he even here?
We should have called him. This should have been an intervention.
Yeah.
But Henny was such a fun character.
Such a
Yeah.
delightful character. He was the way he performed Henny too. I just love the choices he made. The voice was so great.
Yeah, I was worried at first because he was really ornery up top. And then I was like, oh boy, we're going to have both of these gnomes just. But I think he softened a little bit as time went on.
Well,
Yeah.
he was, understandably very emotional when we first met him.
Sure. But I also love that for our final guest of quest, we got not one, but 2 additional party members.
Yeah, the Yeti.
Because we got Freddy the
Freddy the
Freddy
Yeti.
the Yeti, yeah.
And he lived.
who was named in the moment.
I like his donkey kicks. That was a fun visual.
Yeah.
I think you just like the phrase donkey kicks.
I do really like the phrase donkey
But every time he said donkey kick, you just burst out laughing. And I was like, that's just what they call that. She was just like, but it says donkey kick.
But also, can you picture a Yeti donkey kicking?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Absolutely. In fact, I think it's their primary move of aggression.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen it illustrated in the pages of the comic book Alpha Flight.
Also in other Marvel comics with the Wendigo.
Oh,
I
yes.
think he donkey kicked a lot too.
Who also appeared in the pages of Alpha Flight.
Was he also an Alpha Flight?
Yeah.
Was he related to the Yeti?
Who knows? They just like,
Or
if you're big
Bigfoot.
and furry, you're
Big
going to fight
Sasquatch.
another someone
Right,
who's big
yeah.
and furry.
Yeah.
Aw,
They're just constantly donkey kicking each other.
that's how they mate.
Wait, really? I don't know. I don't think the physics of that would work out. I don't know how that would. All right, never
They
mind.
have really long.
Anyways, back to chapter 10. Back to chapter 10. It's not that kind of show. Yeah, so we started chapter 10 with being handed Orny's severed hands,
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that was great. I really
which
liked
was
that.
scary and morbid. So I thought for sure, I was like, oh, okay, like Paul killed Paul killed Orny. Like that's what this was. But then when I realized like, oh,
I didn't think so.
they're imbued with the whole like the
Magic.
The magic. I was like, okay, there's some fun stuff there. But I love that came around. We also didn't really talk about that his hands were like bound together, right?
Uh-huh.
Theory. But we said like they were always pointing. Like I like to think that all like 10 fingers were always just like in a direction, like a karate, like 2 karate chops. Or if it was just
I
one.
just pictured a pointer.
But I think maybe, I don't know, maybe
I
Orny points with
also
his pinky.
I also pictured one singular index finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pointing, and no matter where you turned it, that finger would
Right.
turn.
So even if the hands were pointing one direction, the bone would just crack and break, and the finger would just point in the
Yeah,
opposite
no,
direction.
it was supposed to be super creepy and like
terrifying.
or whimsical in Tim Burton, depending
Sure,
on your
which-
imagination.
Right, yeah, because that could
And your
go both
taste.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was quite the way to start out
it
right,
the
was.
episode.
It was just like, here you go.
Get right into
Here
this
is
what's going
chapter
on.
10.
Yep.
Also, I like that we pretty much started both of our chapter 10 chapters, 10.1, 10.2, like at the thing. And it was like, here we go. Like we're diving right in. Here is the scene of the crime where we meet Henny in the beginning of chapter 1, then in the beginning of chapter 10 too. We're at Menschel's thing. I give so much kudos to Paul to not making us travel and then like encounter shit along the way
Yeah.
that is totally unrelated to the
Yeah.
story, considering that like we're right at the end.
Well,
Yes.
and granted, if
Get
this
to it.
was a traditional
Casual.
campaign,
Yeah.
like you guys would
Have
run
to
into
earn.
all sorts of things, but
Right.
like ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't
nobody
nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Also, man, I do feel like starting with chapter 6, maybe not. I'm sorry, starting with chapter 5, with the exception of maybe chapter 6, because I think if I remember, Sarah, I guess the quest kind of had to bail quickly. So for the most part, every recording got extra long. Every recording got longer and longer.
It's true. Chapter 10 was
because
epically long.
nine, we sat down with Dom Zook of 9 for a really long time. Before that was Hannah in chapter 8, which was a long time, and then we sat down with Kevin for felt like
It
10 hours.
I think it was like 10 hours.
I think chapter 9 could have been shorter, but the character Falling Star was like always casually smoking. So like, it was like,
He was
what is
very
he going to
chill.
say next? And
And
we
Dom-
would all sit and look at him and think,
Yeah, and Dom was doing that in the room. He was
Yeah.
he built
a big pipe,
Yeah,
yes.
he built a pipe out of construction paper we
Had
had.
the
laying.
ganja, you know. He was
It
relaxed.
wasn't ganja. You don't know that.
You're so offended.
So offended because it made it was ganja. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the effects it had on junk. That was definitely what it was.
It was really cool. Also, I figured that we would meet Menschel at some point, but other than that, I had no idea like what was going to happen going
Right.
into 10, which I think is pretty cool.
I
Pretty
loved
smart.
Frank Todaro's Menschel too. I know I saw the behind the scenes, how the sausage got made, sort of
Sure.
like trying out voices and all
Right.
that. And I just think how it landed was so
Right.
great and so creepy and
yeah.
delightful and emotional.
Yeah, Commander Menschel,
He came
voiced by
alive.
Frank Todaro, who is he's just a really fantastic voice actor. Best known for playing Starscream. Is that how it's
Starscream.
Starscream on Transformers. And really, I've known that dude since I was
You're a little baby.
since I was knee high to a grasshopper, and it was really fun to have him come and do that and play. And I think next season we definitely have to have him come sit down and
Yes.
be an actual guest quest on one of them. But yeah, it was really fun getting to do all of the extra voices. When I say all of, I mean I think it was just the 2, because we also had Bitch Puddin' come in.
Oh my God, bitch pudding.
And play Slady
Oh.
Dragon, which Slady Dragon, like of all of the things that a character like Henny and the way that Kevin played Henny can summon, like
Perfect.
he had the silent what was her name,
Samathi?
Samathi.
who was this silent, just made of energy and sand and this sort of desert
Dryad, right?
Yeah, dryad.
I'm
And
not
then
sure if you meant made MADE or made MAID.
No, I meant DE.
Okay.
But you can take either one. They both work.
Yeah.
And then we had the Manticore named Manticles.
Manticles.
He was
Or
just a little kitty.
manacles.
See, yeah, it was funny because I realized when I was writing the stuff after the episodes were done that I thought you had made one joke and you were doing a different thing. I thought it was manticles, like testicles.
Oh.
Do you remember we had this conversation?
No. It was manacles, like the things that lock you up.
Yeah, manacles. Like, because I was spelling it with an I. I think you're spelling it with an A. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Pretty much? Yeah. Either way, I fucking love manacles. But those two are like, yeah, those are things that like a summoner would have.
But then bitch pudding. Just
we also have Slady Dragon.
Slady Dragon.
A drag queen. I have a question for you. A real life question.
Sure.
Was this character at all inspired by the character dwarf that Matt played in a game that we played before ever creating Dungeons & Dragon Wagon, where he was a very beautiful dwarf?
No, not at all.
Because that was where my mind went immediately. Do you remember that? We played a few sessions of that. Yeah. And you were this gorgeous.
I was supposed to be like the tank or something. And
yeah.
Like, and you don't wear any armor.
Yeah, you don't wear armor because you don't want to cover your physique. Because you think
that's
you're
like
too
me
beautiful.
playing Skyrim. I'm like, I'm not putting on a helmet. All the effort I put into this character.
Well, true story. I, as a kid, used to be afraid of drag queens. There was something about
real.
A lot of the amount of makeup that they wore, the big personality, the wig. It was sort of like I'd say it's similar to like the fear of clowns. Like it wasn't debilitating, but it was like something where I was like, I'm unsure about this personality.
I can attest that 100% I was probably the exact same way.
And
really?
just this past like year and a half, I went to like my first ever drag show for my friend's bachelorette party. I've seen a lot more drag. And I'm like, oh, these are just people. Like I went up and I complimented someone who did a like back handspring in high heels and landed in the splits. And like afterwards I was like, that was incredible. And she was like, oh, you're so sweet. And like I was like, this is just a person performing, doing something amazing.
Right.
And so it got to that discussion, of course, of like, if you were a drag queen, what would your persona be? And I love medieval fantasy.
Sure.
So it started with the name. It started with Slady Dragon.
Right.
Perfect.
And then I thought, what would be the driving force in a fantasy land, particularly one with the makeup of Rymor that is so full of dwarves that you guys never encountered.
Right.
Just honestly because of the way that you walked
Yeah,
and traveled.
sure.
But I thought, so dwarves are so traditionally masculine and beer drinking, and everyone has a beard.
The giant beard.
And I just felt like the person who just says, fuck this, beards are uncomfortable, and shaves it off. And what else are they going to do? And so that was the inciting incident for Slady.
I love that.
I also want to say, too, like a plug for Bitch Puddin'. Met her on the set of Eastsiders. She's really fun, incredibly funny and sweet.
Eastsiders is a web series turned television program for, remind me, I don't want to say the wrong company.
It's on Netflix.
Netflix, okay. That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want it to be a different product.
And that's coming out on December 1st. That's season 4 that I production designed.
Nice.
And the show Dragula that Bitch Puddin' is known from also just joined Netflix. So you can watch season 1 of Dragula and watch these drag queens perform. They are all horror themed and they make them do like Fear Factory sort of challenges.
Whoa.
So if you want to like, yeah, I'd watch Drag Race, but I want to see someone have to drink a mug of blood, then that's Dragula.
Also, I have to give a shout out, and I don't know that we ever talked about this, Paul, but when we first started D&DW, my cousin Paul, I have a lot of Pauls in my life, it's a very important name, he wrote me saying like, I want to be on D&DW and I want to play a dwarven drag queen. Like that was a text
Isn't
message
that wild?
he specifically
that is crazy.
said.
Yeah.
And
I wish that would have happened.
I thought
Polly,
that was so
come
funny
to LA.
because when that just happened, when we were naturally playing chapter 10, my first thought was like, oh God,
Oh my
Paul's gonna love
God.
this.
Did you ever tell Polly
So
about
shout
it?
out to Paulie. Well, I mean, I'm assuming he listened to the show.
Yeah.
He's a fan of the show. I hope so. Paul, you better listen to this shit.
This is the test. If you don't tell us that you've been listening.
But I digress. Both of our guests, all 3 of our voice guests, because we also had Dan Prevette come voice Shell. And God, that dude has just such an ominous, deep vocal tone.
That was so great.
Yeah, he was super
He
fun
brought
as,
Shell to life.
as Shell. And all of the like speaking in tongues and the fake language that I was like, yeah, I don't know this. These dudes probably speak a language that's been long forgotten in the land of Rymor for centuries and centuries. So I was like, speak whatever that language is. And he just, I remember when he was recording it, I got the chills because I was like, I could not imagine it better than you just did it. Like in my head, I was like, oh, I'd love it for it to be a specific way. But then when he did it, it was just like, yep, that was what I imagined and better.
Perfection.
It's such a treat for me because I'm not here. I don't get to see the sausage.
Sure. Yeah.
It made, so I'll be listening to it when it gets released. Be like, oh yeah, that was a voice that Paul just kind of did on the day, and now it's like a thing I was not expecting. So that's nice. That's nice for me.
And I always enjoy that too because I like to show them Paul's voice, and then like they go okay, and then they always deliver something, and it's always just like whatever that was, like 211, which is always so fun.
Perfect.
I remember doing the same thing for bitch pudding.
Yeah,
and they really got a kick out of your slating. But yeah, I loved 10.1. I loved that it was all about the rescue of Orny, who I assumed was dead from the beginning. We got to fight that was
tough.
That was like I think our toughest fight up that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, they got increasingly more difficult for sure.
Right.
Yeah, Kiri.
Kiri was tough.
I actually have to thank our very first interview we did of Orny because a lot of things about his past got established in that.
In the round table.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Round table 1, I think it was.
Yeah, entirely improvised backstory for Orny. And
I love how that all comes full circle.
Yeah, so Kiri was his childhood, like gnomes live so young, but like younger rival, and that was completely made up. And I was, as the season progressed, I was like, I need to go back and listen to that interview because I want to make sure that I know what these
where
the
moving pieces are.
Incorporate.
Yeah. In fact, there was a moment, I forget which chapter it was in, but someone said something. Oh, it was at the end of chapter 6-1 where
which was Sarah playing Layla,
where Junk pulled a robe that he found that were women's robes, and they had darts in them, like the way that if you've ever sewn, like you put darts and things to like make room for a woman's breasts. And so
darts is it's a style of
it's
hem.
seaming on the inside, and so Orny said, I'm not going to wear that. I don't have breasts. And then I just said as a joke anymore.
Right.
And then so that's when you guys met Kiri. I had to include the story of how
Kiri is the one who gave him breasts.
Yeah, tricked him into having breasts for a while. Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much.
So perfect.
Cool. And it was a clever fight too. It wasn't just like beat him up and then eventually you win. Like we had to figure out.
How to get out of his trap. And like the electrified cage. We couldn't touch the cage.
Mm-hmm.
We had to figure out a way. Yeah. And thankfully, honestly, I don't know how the hell we would have even done that fight without Henny. Because without getting a summons on the outside of the cage, I don't know how we ever would have got out of that thing. We would have had like Adeline would have had to try to like shoot an arrow at the lever and hit a natural 20 like 10 times in a row in order to get that thing. Because I don't know how else we would have gotten that
Even
out.
then, I think that the arrow would have just gotten stuck in the lever. Like she would have had to put a boxing glove on it, like Green Arrow.
But yeah, that was super fun. Oh, and then I see 3. There was actually 4. I keep forgetting all of our fantastic voices because we got Haley on the mic on Instagram. Haley Yim came and voiced Queen Lenley,
right?
Who was the gnome queen, who is Henny's father. She also knocked it out of the park, and just learning at the end of that first chapter that Henny is actually the king of the land of the Brave Frost. Also, the whole thing that this entire time we were like evil gnomes, and it was funny because I remember we were having conversations that the gnomes were the ultimate bad guys. And some of us, it sporadically in individual conversations throughout the past, however long this has taken, a year and change for this first season, have been like, are we just gonna like murder a bunch of gnomes? Are we gonna these big giant creatures just stomping into Rymor, just fighting? And then ended up like the gnomes were pretty much innocent in all of this. Yeah. Sans a small
just a
little
few
rogue
pawns.
group,
like as can happen with any.
It was a coup,
which makes me think back to the end of chapter 1-1, where it was that choice of, are we going to go up to Cragshore or are we going to go to Shell's Landing?
Right.
Or not Shell's,
Silverhammer. Right to the capital.
Yeah. And just thinking about the ways that the story would have changed, because you probably would have been fighting a lot more gnomes. You probably would have discovered that they were possessed sooner.
Right.
And that would have been different.
Yeah. God, it's so weird just to think about how at the end of a season like this and a story that we've told, how everything sort of feels like that's the story. Like how the way that it was played, that's the story. If we did a novelization of this or a cartoon or a movie of this would be the story.
But it's really more like a choose your own adventure because we could have made a lot of other paths.
To just imagine how vastly different the story could have been.
Yeah.
And also just what our guests of Quest brought to their characters.
which was so individualistic as well.
I know, like any one specific choice of a guest of Quest could have altered the way that our story and did alter the way that our story went so many times in different directions.
I think generally it deepened the story continuously.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to think about. It's also sad. It's very bittersweet to be on the other end of this.
Oh, it is.
It's very bittersweet.
It is.
But 10.2, the finale. We've heard about the Sky Tillers as early as chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The Temple of Amek.
Temple of Amek. Yep.
And we saw the thing.
We saw Amek.
And the thing's thing.
Oh, boy, was that a treat.
Oh, really?
Fell in a big old bush. I loved Slady Dragon.
Wait a minute. Hang on. I just put something together. The corpse had a bush? How long does your hair hang on to your body after you've been dead?
I was just thinking about like mummies and how like they tend to have like little scraggles of hair left on them.
That's fair. And we don't know.
Maybe it was much bigger when Amek was alive.
And also
he's been dead for a while.
Amek had a real 70s bush when he was alive. Everybody was like, "Oh, Amek, would you shave that thing?"
Oh yeah, I mean, like to me, like the Sky Tillers aren't giant men. They're more like Sasquatch. Like they're more like they have more hair. And little and black beady eyes and
could you imagine the size of those donkey kicks?
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
But yeah, that we defeated some wraiths and some
frostbat
thralls. That we defeated one frostbat many times.
Yes.
That was so great. Oh, the bloopers killed me.
This was the final fight was really fun. I like that we came up with a plan and then it failed miserably.
So bad.
And
so much got cut that like we were really trying to figure out the best path. I mean, it was such strategizing going on.
Yeah, there was a lot. And that's why some of these sessions take so long is because, man, sometimes we spend, 20 minutes out of game technically talking about like, what would our strategy be? What could we do here? And then like, somebody just goes, all right, I'm doing this. And Matt does this. And he says, all right, I'm going up top or whatever. And then it's like, oh, that's the fucking plan. All right, we're doing it. We're going. But also enjoyed that we had some fun hero moments. We all got to have our moment on top of the hill before.
Well, I know you were so proud of like the visual of like right before we
charged
the thralls and all of that. And like our sort of Avengers moment where each of us is doing our little thing.
I imagined right before we attacked, because like there was no way we were getting the drop. There was just no way to be secretive. They were out in the middle of a giant ice lake. I assumed it was a lake.
Not unless one of us could go invisible, I guess. Right. And even then.
And so it was just a matter of, hey, let's just have a fight. And I thought, oh well, that's where Michael Bay puts the circular dolly, and then, and it's like a circular shot, and we see everybody doing their stuff. Everybody's together.
Or what was it that second Avengers movie where they were fighting in the snow and they do the slow motion of all of them leaping towards the enemy?
Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, like if Joss Whedon was directing our final episode, that would have been his big moment right there.
Absolutely.
And there was also some really fun. I love it when a battle move or something in battle really is massively effective, because if Henny didn't summon Samathi and cast that like dust storm, then all of those zombies, because for that entire fight, all those zombies, because we didn't have enough turns for that to really wear off, they all had like much lower accuracy.
Yeah.
So that's why they kept missing us. But we fought, let's see, was it 3 + 5 each? So that's 15, 16, 17, 18.
It was heavy.
18 characters simultaneously.
Yeah.
And the majority of them were just missing us in every hit. And if we didn't have that, I feel like those zombies would have
decimated.
Really, really been problematic. But they missed like every other hit because of that first thing that Henny did to start the whole thing off.
Yeah. Very clever.
Despite the fact that he slid down the hill accidentally.
That was so great.
Critical failure.
That was such a Junk clumsy moment.
Yeah, and it wasn't even me this time. I was really happy that Junk didn't have some. There were some moments there where Junk could have really botched some crap. But
oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Let's just put it out there. Your Warhound not just falling off of the scaffolding was that was just,
Lord,
that was kind.
I mean, it would have been I would have just had to go
get it,
or just switch to the spear that I still have.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Hey, don't knock that ornamental pike.
Which actually, you know what? Again, I always say let's not talk about stuff that could have been. But whatever, it's the final roundtable. Let's talk about what stuff could have been. It would have been interesting to see Rage Wind with that. It would have been slicing damage instead of crushing damage. It would have been some fun things. But all in all, I like that he had his Warhound, because it's a fun visual. The fact that it was the defining moment.
Paul's about to open up some.
I was just going to tell you something about that ornamental pike.
Oh my God, tell us.
It's so it's inspired by an ornamental pike that I actually have in my closet back at in my apartment.
What?
And it I remember messing around with it and realizing that the spearhead on it or pike head is not made well. Like it's just meant to be shiny. But it's like sort of
Hence
like
the ornamental.
It's decor.
Yeah. And so had you ever really used it, we
used it. It didn't work, but we used it.
It would have bent
against the cockatrice.
It would have bent back and forth and then snapped off.
Like a prop in a movie.
Yeah.
When you see somebody like hit somebody with a sword.
You would have gotten
it's like a real 70s weapon.
You would have gotten like 2 good hits, and then you would have like picked it up and then realized that it was like completely bent to one side. And if anyone's ever had this experience, they would know that if you try to bend it back, you'll just end up snapping it off.
Yeah, because you made a weak spot in it.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
there we go.
So you're carrying around this piece of junk the whole time.
All because Adeline was really excited about it.
I was.
It's ornamental.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Adeline came from such wealth that you would have think that like just a pretty shiny thing would have not affected her. She turned into fucking Little Mermaid.
When
there
she
for a
was
second.
little, she wasn't allowed to touch the pikes in the castle. So, she has a lot of bitterness over that.
I love that. Oh, man. But yeah, chapter 10 was just such a blast. I loved the world. I loved the saving of said world. Were there any other specific moments from chapter 10 that you guys want to cover before we sort of move on to some of the stuff here?
10-2, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but obviously we're here. We know so much about what's going on, all of the backstory of what gets cut. And so hearing the finished product is always a treat because it's all nice and cleaned up and cinematic. And so I don't know. I wasn't necessarily expecting to get emotional, to be honest, listening to any of these episodes, because I'm like, I was there for that. I know what's happened.
Right.
But, oh man, chapter 10.2 just got me.
What part got you?
When Orny looks around and there's like no hope.
Right.
And it's like, all right, he's going to have to whip out this litany. I was just like, oh God, I'm crying. When did this happen? Like that was it.
I mean, Matson sacrificed himself jumping off of the head of a sky tiller.
On the heels of that, of course, which was such a great moment when you hear it,
laying down dead.
You don't know if he's going to live.
Up on the scaffolding, like on the 4th or 5th story, is still you and Henny.
As a goddamn crab.
Can't
even shoot my arrow.
Crabaline, as she's been now come to
Crabaline.
Be known. And
Sweet
yeah,
Crabaline.
And
that's what Julian said on the chat the other day.
So Orny busting out the litany got you a little bit?
Oh, it got me because in the moment we didn't know what was going to happen. Was that it? And I remember afterwards, Paul was kind of sharing like, yeah, like if it had to come to that, that's what it was going to be, and someone was going to die.
And man, he just kept.
Shell was a beast.
Shell just kept coming. He was just. He super shredded that thing like 3 more times than even Super Shredder did. He just was doing the Undertaker sit-ups after everything we threw at him. He was. I heard wrestling commentary going, "What's it going to take to get rid of this guy?"
But how
he
beautiful.
took a bunch of damage though. Fall damage is some of the biggest damage that you can take in D&D and any RPG. So
just ask the dead Matson.
But how beautiful was that moment when Junk blots out the moon? What a great visual.
Yeah, there was a lot of really fantastic visuals, Paul. A lot of those little descriptions of certain moments that happened were really, again, I always talk about how I like to make this immersive. And part of that is like, I want people to be able to see it in their head when they're listening. And
it has to be very vivid.
Yeah, Paul, that last fight, man, there were so many great moments where you really just like painted such a great portrait in people's heads, at least in my head, of specific moments like that. And that one too, that one got me where
so good.
Where like he was confused about what this is happening. He's looking at the litany, and just when he looks up, he realizes like, oh, there's just this giant cloud of half Orcan about to murder me.
Which has so much emotion behind it too, because you just assume that Shell still isn't really afraid in that moment until maybe you show up.
Also,
but Junk is like redeeming himself too for all of this stuff that happened with Rasa.
But another thing to think about though is the litany would have taken, he said, just 2 turns. So he took it out, he had to read it, and the next turn he would have been able to state the words.
Oh, it was so close.
And you and Henny would have had to spent a turn coming downstairs. Matson would not have gotten a turn because he was on saving throws. So if Junk
a lot of people would have died.
If Junk didn't succeed in that moment, it would have been Shell's turn next, and then it would have been Orny's turn. And that would have been the end of it. So it had to happen that way. Man, if I would have rolled a shitty roll there, that would have been it. Like Orny would have been dead.
Ooh, did What did Kevin have a summon active?
I can't remember.
I don't
think so.
think
I think
so.
he might. Well, I think he might have had Samathi, but I think you specified that Samathi would have also needed a travel turn.
Yeah.
Unless he drew her back and re-summoned her
down there,
closer, which would have been an additional turn.
Which would have been a whole turn.
Yeah. But yeah, there was there was just a lot of really fun. I love the way sometimes you try to sculpt something and that's you do the best you can, but ultimately at the end of the day, something that we have
Clay
to.
Orney.
What do you mean? Oh, Clay Orney. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, something that I hope all the listeners really do appreciate is that like the die are the deciding factors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's really like this. We try to make our show different by cutting out a lot of our quote gameplay and our strategizing behind the scenes.
Some of the
to make it sound more immersive, like I was talking about. But like the die are still in
everything
control.
you're hearing in terms of like how the play is playing out.
I love that. It's such a fun, weird way to tell a story.
But on another note, what about that epilogue? Thoughts?
On what happened after?
Everyone.
I like that. That was cool.
Junk and Rin are out and he is irritating the shit out of her.
I can see that.
But she is
she's shouldering it
she's
well.
grown to forgive him for what has happened, I think. But simultaneously won't ever tell him that. And
we might have to ask Havana about this.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they set off. Whether or not they find the vessel, I don't know. That's everybody. Who knows? Who knows? But there's lots of fun stuff. I love that Orny separated. I love actually. So here's the thing.
Oh yeah, talk about your cry moment.
Yeah. So my big cry moment,
which got me too. Actually,
it gets me every time.
It got me.
I was one that edited the fucking thing and put the music on it and did all the shit. And I still every single time that we get to the part of the epilogue where after they get to Shell's Landing, where they have another funeral for Kelver Selfin, a proper funeral, and all of the other fallen victims, where the party met, they decide to part ways, and it's just that gets me every time.
Yeah.
Every time it got me just now again.
I know,
and I love it because
They've been through some shit.
That was where they became a family because they met on the
did.
Providence, but they were still like, I don't know about these fucking people.
Yeah. For all we know, we would have all gotten to Shell's Landing and been like, all right, fuck you guys, I'm
Peace out.
No, we reunited.
But yeah, I love that Orny stayed down with his people because Orny was always sort of like, he didn't belong there as well. That's how I read that. Was like he's lived so many lifetimes. He's like 820 years old.
He
right?
deserves some damn respect.
He's and he's forever now without his red hat, which is sort of a visual symbol of him being. He's a part of them, but he's always separate.
A little different.
I like to think that Henny has made him some sort of like really fancy giant head garb as his like right hand man.
Is it like a little Pope hat?
Like something like the Pope, yeah. and Orny just hates it. Or let's not forget, Orny still has Junk's bowler hat.
Does he though, or did he drop that in Menshall's office?
No,
he's like, I'm out.
It just doesn't fit his head.
Yeah,
but
it sits down over his eyes like a little kid wearing his dad's hat, just
Yeah.
down low. I don't know.
Go
ahead.
Something I thought was a really nice touch in chapter 10, and a good thing for added stakes was Orny talking about just what was at risk if Shell were to come back. Not that he would be ruler of the land and this horrible tyranny, but that all the magic was going to be destroyed, and how that was kind of a metaphor for everything. Like all the magic is what keeps the people together and gives us purpose, and
it's like magic.
All that stuff.
Yeah, the idea that the native magic of the land, when it was Henny's speech, which I thought was really great, of like
props to Kevin Allen too,
Kevin
because
Allen
it was just so
performed it
beautiful,
so well.
that whole moment.
When you think of magic, you think of the fireballs and summons and all the crazy shit. But that same magic is fueled by the same stuff that fuels just basic emotion, that fuels love and joy.
Yeah.
And so since a Shell was so I don't know, what do you call it? Vengeful, thank you. That he was going to take everything this time. Because last time he left them with the stones. That was what he left Rymor with when he was around the first time. He was like, "Oh, I'll leave this as like a pittance." Yeah. And now he wasn't going to leave nothing. Yeah. He was going to take everything. But that
was a really nice touch on your guys' part, especially for the last chapter. It's rather just like be the bad guy or else he wins.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
It's another level, another.
Right. Also, just the idea that Matson's like, yeah, would it be so bad if we?
That was great.
Why don't we just let him live and we'll go on doing our thing? He does hill thing. As long as we don't come to the Brave Frost, we're fine, right? But, God,
well done.
Really, a lot of really fun moments in the end of this, and yeah, I just thought it was great. I also I want to give a shout out to everybody who wrote us.
Yes. Thanks for the love.
I have a couple emails here that I want to read, but also I just want to give a huge thanks to the various people who sent us emails while waiting for Chapter 10 because you guys were so patient. But it was clear that people really were excited about it. And so just a few names here. I want to thank you so much. Jenny Gray, Kara Baker, Natalie Schwartz, Rob C., Jim Strickland, and everyone else who wrote us in the lead up and then afterwards expressing their love. I also want to give a very, very, very special shout out to both James Kerr and Charlie Keith for your incredible emails. We love both you guys. We are here with you. Consider us your friends, please, because we absolutely love you.
Yes,
and we
much love
really
to you both.
appreciate your support. But we do have a couple emails specifically that I want to read with some questions and some other stuff. So I'm going to pull these up. If you don't mind, if you bear with me here.
We don't have an email song like.
Now we do. Go for it.
Song.
I really like it. It's so derpy.
Well, the lyrics were derp, 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 derp. It's an email song, so that makes sense. All right, let's see here. Let
It
me
sort
go.
of sounded like the Green Acres theme song to me. Like,
Emails.
God, remember Nick at Night, you guys? Now it
Yeah.
plays. Now it plays Full House. How weird is that?
And Friends.
Okay, we're old.
Full
All
House
right.
and Friends.
Here's an email.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Here's an email from Brad Adams, and you know what? I don't know if we answer this. If not,
Brad
hey,
Adams.
it's the final roundtable. We can do it again. His question is about how Paul calculates D20 rolls. First off, he did say he came from Myth Understood and ventured over to the podcast and likes it, so thank you so much for that. But he says specifically, attack rolls don't seem like armor class is necessarily used. He was hoping Paul could share a bit about the rule side of the homebrew. So that was it. So kind of we've said it at every episode, we're not playing traditional D&D rules. We're playing a homebrew rule for the sake of one, keeping the game moving, and also being a little bit more lax with yes, it worked, and no, it didn't work.
Little less math heavy.
Yeah, but the battle, I am a little bit curious about that. So how do you specify D20 rolls as regards to armor class?
Well, so one of the things that I learned when I was first playing Dungeons and Dragons was about all of the math that was involved, and it was very intimidating to me.
Right.
And so when I
You were so young, right?
I was
27.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like 2 years ago that you just started playing D&D.
No, I mean, well, but honestly, the first time I played it was in college, so I wasn't so young.
Oh, okay.
But,
Well, never mind.
But still,
It was an art college. He was not good at math.
I've never been good at math.
Me either. Yeah.
It takes me a little bit longer for sure. I'm much more of like a geometry person, which is why
The visual.
Yeah, can do that. But my idea when I came up with my armor class system for this homebrew was that basically it's like everyone starts at 0, which is not traditional D&D at all. Everyone is like they're wearing no armor.
Right.
And by putting on different armors, it increases your armor point by 1, 2, 3.
So we don't necessarily use armor class as much as it's how much armor you have.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really, so that being said, I don't really use armor class that much. To me, it just felt like, especially when we're trying to knock out a product quickly, I don't want to linger in battle too long. I don't like there being an extra factor for another way that people can miss being hit, or the enemy could miss hitting the players.
Right.
So
I respect that.
Yeah, I'm open to using it if I'm playing a traditional game in the future, but I just feel like I was worried about the recordability and the immersibility by using the traditional armor class system.
Also, man, the amount of time I would just edit people writing crap down would be.
Oh my God.
But you are doing rolls. You're just not. You're doing it on the iPad, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think because we don't put the rolls
Right.
in there,
We don't put Paul's rolls.
Yeah,
only
exactly.
our rolls.
So
Yeah.
that might be also confusing to listeners. Paul is
True.
actually rolling. He's not just pulling numbers out of his
Just
ass.
To to save
Right.
a little effort and time, he uses a digital
Yeah,
roll.
because he's
Yeah.
rolling constantly, and we are rolling every now and then.
Yeah.
We include ours in the show, but we cut out Paul's.
So
Yeah.
pro tip for anyone starting their own and they want to save a little time.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that question, Brad. Hopefully that clears up a little bit of stuff for you. We have another email here from Brittany. Brittany starts, first of all, let me say, as I've said before, best podcast ever. She was all caps. That's why I read it like that.
Okay.
I also adore all of you and your characters so much. We adore you, Brittany.
We
Thank you
do.
so much.
You're adorable.
And then she's on to questions. She's a total cheater. She has more than one question. She said in the prologue, when everyone is getting their perks and caveats, after Adeline and Matson both get a sidekick style perk, Jake says he hopes he gets a squirrel sidekick. So, Paul, did you use that as inspiration when creating the Servants of Rasa, therefore giving Junk the option for a squirrel sidekick?
I love your face right now, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, one thing Alexander is commenting on is that like I have zero memory of Jake saying he hopes he gets a squirrel
Oh my
sidekick,
God.
and that's so funny to me because I think it must have subconsciously
Implanted?
implanted. Yeah. I
Accepted
had
Paul.
I incepted him?
Yeah.
I
Did
had
I get an Oscar?
He didn't.
So I've been playing this casual game with some friends on Sundays where one of the characters has the ability to talk to burrowing animals,
Okay.
and I liked the idea of Rasa being this goddess of like who rules over these like lesser animals, but these
Right.
lesser animals that are in such high abundance.
Right.
Squirrels everywhere,
Right,
bunnies
yeah.
everywhere,
Right.
Ants,
everywhere.
yeah.
And so that was
Smart.
sort of the inciting incident for that for me consciously, but apparently subconsciously I also remember Jake saying he hopes to get a squirrel sidekick.
So,
Wow.
do you want to know what's really funny about this? I also do not remember saying that.
Well,
Like that I wanted a squirrel. I don't remember that at all.
I don't either,
So
but I
funny.
fully believe it.
But
I
it
do
is,
believe it.
I mean, it is a thing that
It's
I
definitely
would say.
something you
I
would have
love
said.
me a squirrel. Also, Alexandra, last night, was it you that asked me, like, did you have any other doubts about picking any other animals? Was it you
Oh
that
yeah,
said-
I did ask you that.
And I was like, no, not at all. I was like,
I think you came close to picking the ant.
well, the ants I just thought
Antony.
were fun because Junk, the biggest member of the party, is this
Having the
giant,
tiniest.
but pre-meeting Yetis officially, he was still like the biggest thing we had ever come. Like I was always a giant in a land full of normal and smaller sized people.
Like how big were you compared to like a cane?
Like Kane from wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh,
From wrestling.
taller, definitely taller. But
Just as trim.
and so I thought it would be fun to have ants, but also I just love squirrels so much, and I love the idea of like just like everybody.
Let me tell you, people,
they're so
that
cute.
when we're out and about and we see a squirrel, Jake's always just
I
like,
talk to it.
Scampersan.
I talk to it. I'm always like, "Are you Scampersan? Do you know Scampersan? Will you be my friend?"
But
I
they
also
don't have little top hats.
I also like to think that in his travels with Rin after the events of 10.2, that every squirrel that Junk sees, he like stops, he feeds, he makes a big deal out of it.
And she is very frustrated.
Oh man, she's so irritated. Like every single squirrel, and sometimes he just takes 2 steps, and like there's another squirrel, and she's like, "We have to go."
Does she
And
ever just randomly kill one
at
just
some
because she's
point-
annoyed with you?
At some point, she's like, "That's the same squirrel. I swear to God." He's like, "No, it's a different squirrel. You don't know it's the same squirrel." So that's what I like to think. Anyways, question 2.
Thank you.
Was there an alternate storyline for episode 4.2 if Orny were to resurrect Junk, or if Junk declined becoming a vessel of Rasa?
oh, of course there was. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
We talked about that.
I had a choice. I didn't know I had a choice, but I had a choice.
yeah. In
wasn't
fact,
sure.
I was fairly convinced that Junk was going to turn down Rasa's offer and that Orny was going to resurrect him.
Talk about a defining moment for the show
Yeah.
that you ended up picking to be this vessel.
Yeah. Well, Junk is ultimately he is a loving person, but we talked a lot about a lot of characters had trust issues. Both Matson, actually every character in the entire party had trust
Had
issues
some sort of trust
to an
issue.
extent. But let's
That's
not
true.
forget that like there was a reason that Junk left the desert folk. It was because he did not like the way that they were speaking of and treating shadow elves. And so I think that Junk ultimately was always sort of like looking for people to trust, but always a little bit unsure. He always had a little
Yeah.
uncertainty. And so I think that he just didn't, I don't know, maybe he didn't really trust that Orny could do it, or he's just really susceptible. Let's not forget, I made decisions based on roles. And every time I tried to roll either intimidation or a sense motive on Rasa, every roll that I had turned up, she is telling 100% truth.
Yeah.
She will. I remember you specifically saying that, like, you know, for like in your heart now, you believe that she is the only way that you're going to live and that Orny's going to, because that's what she said. And I rolled really crappy. And so that's where I sort of played that as well.
And I guess to further answer the question, I think that at this crux, I saw it not as a choice between life or death. I saw it as a choice for Junk to be valiant and heroic, or to go in a darker direction.
Right.
I had no idea that there was a option C, which was
Both.
take the choice and then still be defiant against it. So that was kudos to you, Jake, for
thanks.
taking me in a
Oh,
third
because you just
unexpected-
assume. So you assume that when I chose Vessel, I was just going to be like, kill everyone.
not
I was just
necessarily
gonna
that.
bore-
I
I was
thought
gonna
it was
borg
something
out.
you were gonna maybe play with even deeper than just killing Janessa.
Right.
Yeah, like more readily accept the role.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of liked the reluctancy of like, well, he needed his heart back. He needs that. You know what I mean? Like, and so he was going to do this one thing. Also, it did help. Here's the thing: is that if Janessa would have stood down with the rest of the Silent Sisters, that would have played out differently.
Yeah.
But it was an obstacle anyway. It seemed
Yeah,
like we were
that's
going to
true.
fight her anyway.
Yeah.
So the way that Junk saw it was like, this is going to end with her dead. Whether or not I'm the one that does it or somebody else does it, what does that really matter? Like, Junk saw some moral ambiguity with the like, well, if I can get my human heart or a heart back out of this, he didn't know it wasn't going to get a human heart back.
Yeah.
But he thought he was just going to get his heart back. Basically, had a fucking hole in his chest that whole time. So we forget about that. He spent an entire.
No, I remember.
I forget.
Yeah, I think Adeline poked her hand through the hole when she was drunk because she's weird and crass.
No, crab, not crab.
She was trying to make little
But-
heart babies.
Anyways, yeah, there's always another option. To answer that, there's always another option. Another question here: in season 2, will there
In
be
season 2?
will there be an
Uh-oh.
episode where the final vessel of Rasa is sacrificed, therefore bringing Rasa and Dark Shalene back together as one deity? I know it was touched upon, but I must know. Well, too bad. You can't know because we don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's going to be dependent upon the story and the choices of the players and our guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so
a mystery.
Who knows? But
You'll
thank you.
have to listen.
Once again, thank you so much to all of those emails. That was just obviously a few, but just it's so nice to have this sort of interest and this sort of community being built. We love all of you so much. Outside of emails, we also have a couple of voicemails. Do you want to hear some voicemails from people?
Yeah.
Whoa, we got voicemails?
Yeah, we got voicemails.
There's a number?
Yeah, we have a number. Thanks for being on social media the past couple of days, Matt.
In fairness, you only launched this like 3 days ago.
I know, but listen, hardly to retweet.
Some people have lives.
I don't, so I assume everybody's like me. All right, let's listen to one of these emails. One of these voicemails. I'm an adult.
This is the voicemail song.
Hola, gente de Raymore. My name is Maritza. I'm from Guatemala, and I just want to say I really enjoy your podcast. This is the very first D&D inspired podcast I listen to. I'm really, really enjoying it. You're very creative, and you keep me at the edge of my seat every single episode. I just have one question for Paul. Since you are creating all these universe and worlds with such detail, do you already have someone in mind to voice the side character you are thinking? Like all those amazing side characters that you create that help the guys through their quests. I hope you keep doing an amazing job and enjoying it mostly because what's life without joy, right?
Aw.
And thank you for bringing that a little joy to my life too. And yeah, keep going
I love
and keep killing. Bye.
Oh, thank you so
Wow.
much,
That's
Maritza.
That brings us joy.
It was Maritza,
Wow.
I think is what she said her name was.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great message. Thank you so much. I love that we're getting calls from out of the United
Yes,
States.
So cool.
that's amazing.
So yeah, I believe the question at hand was like, do you have an idea of who's going to voice your NPCs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I quickly realized when we were doing the prologue in the first couple of episodes that I was like, oh, I have maybe 8 voices I can do if I'm being generous.
And like 3 of them are the same voices in different pitches.
Yeah.
That's how I am.
So after that, it got to the point where I was like, well, I don't want all of these side characters to be men. I think that traditional fantasy is very much a boy's world, and that was something as a kid that was always very boring to me, that I wanted there to be more female characters. So I felt like, okay, well, then I can play some female characters like the barkeep
That's fun.
in the tavern at the beginning of
Misty Cross.
and Misty Cross, yeah. But characters that I wanted to be taken seriously, I didn't want to make it be some comical like brassy woman like that, you know, like
all Monty Python women.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel very blessed that I live in LA sometimes, and one of the reasons being that for a show like this, I know that there is such a
wellspring of talent.
We have friends that live up the street who are talented actors and actresses, and just anyone like, and knowing people who actually do it for a living, like having Michelle Specht come in and play Ugata, who like she's been doing voice acting video games for years, and Frank Totaro, and so it's never like really a question of what is this person like, oh, like I imagine their voice in their head and this is what they're going to sound like. It's more like, oh, I know someone who's going to be able to surprise me with this amazing voice.
Yeah, 'cause
everybody
there's
brings
some creative freedom there for them to bring what they think.
I give
Sarah Martellaro too for the voices that she did, and
so great
in chapter 7. That was
7 too.
Oh gosh, she's so fun. I'm trying to remember the name of that elven woman now. I'm struggling. Saga.
Yeah.
Oh God, so much fun. I still think that her and Matson got it on, but that's just me. Well, thank you so much. What a great voicemail that was. Oh my God, that warmed my heart. Thank you so much. Let's hear one more voicemail.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I'm living in Palmer, Alaska. I actually first heard about D&DW at the Alaska State Fair back in August. One of you guys actually, me and you actually talked while I was working my booth, and since then I've been listening nonstop. And as soon as I hit that last episode, I was full of so many emotions. I was literally jumping out of my chair and around my room listening to this podcast, like on edge, just seeing what's gonna happen next. And oof, I'm not gonna lie, brought some tears to my eyes. And until the last roundtable comes out, I gotta rewatch the entire season again, which I'm looking forward to. I don't really have a lot of questions. Just I'm really hoping to hear a little more to the conclusions as to what the gang is doing next. I mean, it was explained in the last episode, but I really look forward to hearing more about what they're doing. So thank you so much for the time, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you next quest.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Wow,
So cool.
that's so wild.
So guys, don't think that I don't help promote the series.
Yeah, right? Way to go, Paul.
Yeah, Chris, it was so nice to meet you. I actually met Chris at a booth. He at several state fairs in Alaska. There's an incredible LARPing community up there, and so I made it just part of my mission that at every state fair. I was like, I need to go talk to these people about D&DW, and hopefully I can find some people who really like what we're doing. And I met Chris, and I feel so honored that he took the time to listen and that he really enjoyed it. So thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to telling season 2
Book
as
2.
well.
We're very excited.
Thank you so much for the voicemails. So next season, I'm going to tell you right now, we are just going to keep the Dragon Wagon Radio voice mailbox open to anybody who wants to call and talk about D&DW pod in the next season, we will include this in our roundtables. We'll always try to listen to one or two of these if they come in. And that number, if you just want to throw it on your phones, and you can name it the Dragon Wagon Radio voicemail box. It is 516-777-0515. 516-777-0515. And you can call and leave voicemails. And if you just want to call and leave a voicemail for us to hear your voice and listen, and even if you don't want to be on the show, because I know that is a thing that some people were like, hey, I want to say something, but don't include this, then just say that in your message, and we won't include it. But by all means, we would love to put you guys on air with us so we can talk with you in next season's roundtables. Before we move on to the next piece of business, there's something that we do at every roundtable, and I think it's time to do it. Here, you guys. You ready to give away our roundtable giveaway?
We're giving away our round table?
We're giving away our roundtable.
Oh my God.
We got a new coffee table. The roundtable is going.
Oh.
And it's whoever wins this has to pay for shipping. So as always, all you have to do to be entered into this specific contest, and I say that because we'll talk about something in a little bit here, but this specific contest is leave a rating and review, specifically the review on Apple Podcasts, and you are automatically entered to win our roundtable giveaway here. We go through all of them and we write them all down, and we, through a series of D20 rolls, we narrow them down to 20, and we have officially done 20. Usually we do this off air, but I decided we're just going to do it on air this time. So we have our list of 20 people all now, their final 20. I am going to roll a D20, and we're going to see who won this one.
Who's the winner?
All right, you got the list over there, Alexandra?
I have a list.
All righty, so the winner of the Chapter 10 Roundtable is... I dropped the dice.
Oh, classic. Clumsy check, Jake.
All righty.
You failed.
All right, and for the winner this time, for real, is... Number 6.
Number 6 was Squame.
Squame. So Squame, this review is from, I'm looking it up, 1 year ago. See, guys,
Wow.
You don't, once you leave a review, you're entered for life.
For life.
If you have not previously won
Can't
one,
escape.
you will never escape. We've had this conversation before.
This includes season 2. Like, everyone who's already left a review is
Yes,
still valid next
exactly.
season.
Yep. So as long as you are in that review poll there, you are eligible to win these. There's gonna be a lot of your chances are gonna go down the further the show goes on. But right now, get in there early, and you'll maybe for our first episode next season. Anyway, Squame was so kind. They wrote, "Am I crying? I think I'm crying." That was the title of it. A 5-star review that says, "I've never been more emotionally wrecked by D&D as I was at the end of chapter 4.
Such a great episode.
I love this homebrew version, and it has inspired me to take a whack at DMing myself."
Nice.
And I hope I'm assuming it's not a euphemism. I think that they're going to DM themselves. Okay, I digress.
Take a wink.
Thanks for what you do here, except for what you did at the end of chapter 4, Paul. I'm looking at you.
What did I do?
I came here from Myth Understood, so thanks for that too. I think because you killed Junk, even though you didn't do anything.
Or maybe because we killed Asteria?
Oh, maybe.
Or is she?
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a great question. She's angry at you for something. You're going to have to write us and specify. Anyways, thank you so much, Squame. That's SQUAMAE, Squame. To claim your prize package, please email contact@dragonwagonradio.com and or is it contact@D&DWpod.com? It doesn't matter. All goes to the same mailbox. Contact@D&DWpod.com. Let us know that you heard this and that you know you won, and we'll get you your goods. And once again, please continue to leave reviews for this show, even during our mid-season break. Just keep throwing those reviews in there. If you haven't done it, it takes a second. It's really, really helpful to us, and you can win something. Who doesn't like winning stuff, right?
I know I do.
Hate it.
So
Worst.
you
What
would.
a contrarian.
So that's it, guys. Season 1. Season 1. We have a little bit of stuff to talk about the future here, but before we finish, I want to get everybody's sort of. I wonder if I should put everybody in the hot seat. Favorite season 1 moment. Favorite season 1 moment. What moment from season 1?
It's so tough because there's so many.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said hot seat. Any ideas?
Can I have a
Sure.
not a moment
You can
so much
cheat.
as a
You can cheat.
I really loved chapter 7. I loved Andrew Mena as Adeline's brother, Fen Farrell,
Yeah.
and that really changed it for me. I really think that we were really sure where Adeline was going in her story, and Paul had this great idea to sort of give her a second family, which was so important, I think, because of her horrible parents who escaped to the East. And and I just love the idea that they're out there together, changing Biteport.
And we talked about how our Guests of Quests can really change the game or give us something organic in the moment. That quote is so beautiful.
People have quoted that quote from him so many times.
And so I totally get that. I love that. 100%. I love that.
And the moonwalk too is just such a great.
It's a great chapter. Chapter 7 is one of my. I mean, they're all great, but that's one of my favorites. It's like trying to pick your favorite children, of course. Like, don't tell the other chapters.
But speaking of chapter 4, I mean, we all, of course, love Gina DeVivo.
My goodness.
What a great moment for Matson.
All right. Well, speaking of which, Matt, what do you have a favorite moment of the season?
So many.
That's so tough.
Yeah. I think I gotta make it all about me again. I think
I have a feeling that's going to be the case here.
Well, we are naturally biased.
I think learning Matson's true history might have been my favorite because I was.
You mean you learning it or getting everyone else learning it?
Yes, because you held on to that.
I was sitting on it for a year, over a year. I was waiting for you guys to learn, and I was so curious because I knew it wasn't going to come from me. I was going to be provoked somehow by Paul or one of Paul's characters.
Right.
And I was so happy with the way it came out and when it happened. And as soon as at the beginning of chapter 9, right?
Yeah.
9.1, when Paul's like, oh, and you see a shadow elf sitting in the chair. I was like, oh, okay, so this is how it happens.
It's happening.
So I got hit by a wave.
Right.
At that point.
Did you have a lot of anxiety?
I did, actually.
Well, I do remember. So here's a fun little piece of out of game business for people. Matt has played the character so close to his chest.
Oh my gosh.
So much
he
so
was Matson.
So much so that we would give him shit constantly out off air and just in life about the fact that he would always he was waiting for something. Matson was always waiting. He was or Matt specifically was always waiting for something.
It was all very
so much so that I remember even in the spirit realm, you were like, well, I don't know, should I use the spirit blade? And we're like, we're in the spirit realm. That's the blade is for this realm. And even then he was like, I'm going to save it. We're like, no, you have to use it. But so much so that I remember before chapter 9, we were like, now's the time, Matt. You have there's no more holding on to anything. And so I can imagine when that chapter started and it started so abruptly. We're like, you walk into a bar, there he is. That was the first 3 minutes of that chapter.
Yeah.
Talk about like being thrown into the middle of it. Yeah.
I can only imagine. I was like, oh shit, I gotta talk about all this stuff now.
Yeah.
Did you like rehearse how that would go in your head?
I don't
for like
think
a
so.
year? No, you just had the information. And you were like, however it comes.
And I was very happy with how it happened and what I was giving in that moment because I get nervous.
Yeah.
So I was proud of what I was doing in the moment.
Right.
So yeah.
All right, Paul, do you have one?
It's hard to choose just one, but
and
it's
a dungeon.
Pick your babies.
The DM. I mean, God.
I feel like any time I'm able to elicit actual shock from all of you,
Right.
in the moment is so satisfying to me.
Happened a lot.
Yeah, and there was. I remember the first attempt was actually foiled was with Brendan McKay and Idlewild because I was trying.
Didn't he ruin it?
Yeah, because
he was like, "Oh, and I'm her elf."
Yeah,
we were like,
exactly.
What?
Exactly, and I was like, "Shut up!" So, but that was the first time that I wanted it to happen.
Right.
But I think
which was fucking brilliant. I love that Idlewild
That's
came to life.
But I found that the objects that I would have you pick up that only I knew what they did allowed for so much of that. So of
that
course,
was so fun.
So of course, beef pot pie is really quite up there.
God.
During the chapter before that, with the throwing the ancient liquor that just made mushrooms grow all over the roof,
so cool.
I loved that moment too. And what was the sundial, of course.
Mhm.
Too.
Oh yeah, that we used in chapter 10.
Yeah.
I love all those little moments.
Me too.
It made me wonder about every item too. I was like, oh, is this like a special item? What's
Right.
gonna happen?
Yeah, the flute with Junk when
Oh,
all
the
yeah,
flute
the
too. Yeah.
flute.
when all of the fucking wolves and the
Which you kind of blew on like something like you could have used
I was
it.
using it. Well, I was using it as a
He used it
distraction.
on Mongrel.
But I used it as
Yeah,
I was just
that's
using it
true.
to get his attention because
Yeah.
I had that taunt move and I needed to get his attention
Yeah.
in order for him to attack me.
Yeah.
So to use those points against him, and I was like, well, I need to figure out a way to attack. We can't just say I'm going to taunt. We have to do the thing. And I was like, all right, well, I have this whistle.
So wild.
He's going to poorly play this whistle, and then all of a sudden, a ghost herd.
That beef pot pie though. I don't know that we've laughed harder than that.
God,
It was so like absurd.
Do you want to know what I loved about that was the second it happened in the moment, I heard the post production in my head. Like I knew I was going to have the oven timer. Like I was just like,
That was so great. That was a great touch.
I love Monson being outside the tent and just hearing people talking about
He's
beef
like,
pot
the
pies.
hell?
What's going on in there?
yeah. Or Saga was like, is that a common phrase amongst your people? Whatever her line was. Oh, I loved it. God, all right. If I had to pick a favorite moment, I really loved like and it's one of those things that I didn't love in the moment, but I loved it afterwards, was the meeting the vessels of Rasa.
That
and like
was cool.
meeting and the reason I didn't love it was because I'm indecisive and I'm always like, I'm going to make the wrong decision here. But then when I listen back, I really love that. But that's kind of like a runner-up to me. I think my favorite moment, again, we're all going to be selfish, but that's how this goes, is a Junk moment. And it was obviously the battle in the King's Chambers with King Caius, to me, was epic. That was, I think, our first epic moment of
That
the
was.
show. That was the first moment where
There was a lot of tension.
We talked about this in other roundtables where we were playing at like 2:30 in the morning by the time that happened, and we were all beat and exhausted, and then that scene happened and everybody was awake, and there was just tension.
It's like adrenaline shot.
Yeah. And as much as that was an emotional moment, it loses out to me instead to the end of chapter 8 when Junk realizes that in order to destroy Rasa, he's going to have to to destroy his own heart.
God, yeah.
And as he's ripping his heart out, and everybody's like, Junk, what are you doing, you idiot? You can't rip out your own heart. But Junk is still just steadfast. And he's not going to hear any of that because this is Junk, like, he's not trying to be heroic. Like, he thinks in his head, like, I need to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. Not thinking that he can't cut his own heart out. But as he's losing consciousness, Orny starts prepping the potion immediately because Orny's like, well, this idiot, I'm not gonna convince him otherwise. And Orny sees that, and I remember in the moment, I look at to Paul, and I'm doing it again right now. I just immediately started crying as Paul looked at me and said, like, when I said I trust you, and he says like, or he says don't let me die, and he says I won't. Whatever the line was, I'm struggling to remember it in the moment, but I immediately started crying in the moment there, and it was just like it was one of those rare things where we're in characters, we're playing this silly game, and in that moment, I looked at Paul, and Paul and I made eye contact, and and he was just Orny, and I was just Junk, and he said whatever he said back to me, and I was like, Junk dies, because right after that, it was Junk dies, because everybody's And that moment to me is still the pinnacle. I love the way it came out after the fact with sound design. I love the way that it happened in the moment.
Beautiful.
Hands down my favorite moment of the season. But God, but the thing is,
it was also weird that you were actually tearing out your heart.
Well, listen, I had that sharp as hell letter opener. But here's the thing: is all of those moments they're useless without the moments before them.
Right.
And that's what makes it so hard to choose. But I don't know. I just got to give.
layers.
I have to give kudos to my other players here and obviously our DM for just really having such a fun immersive story. This season was just so much fun to me. And God, it's just such a.
I had a blast.
Yeah,
Me
My
too.
first time completing a campaign.
like
Same.
finishing something.
Yeah.
Because usually they just either go on forever or the DM has an idea, but it's so hard to get people to play a game that it just kind of never it fizzles away.
Yeah, there's something really special about D&D in this way is that we have this shared experience, and in our minds, like it feels like it happened, but nothing actually happened,
Right.
and it's not even a movie where you can look at it and it exists on a disc or something like that.
Right.
It's not a book. It's this thing we all told each other,
Right.
and it feels like we all know the same story,
Right.
but none of it happened.
Right.
But it still feels like it did.
I also love to think that because it is an imaginative thing that we all have different visuals for certain moments. Like,
That's true.
Like a moment that I have, like I can picture that throne room. I can picture every little nuance about that battle. I can picture looking up at the rafters, but I feel like what I'm saying in my head is just inherently different than each one of you. And that's something I love about doing this in this audio formats. I hope the listeners are the same way. Like everybody has their own.
Well, in mine, they're all duck people.
Like Duckman, was that a show?
Howard the Duck?
Howard the Duck.
No, there's Howard the Duck too, but there was also that cartoon Duckman. That was really great. Anyways,
Yeah, very special.
God, we have a lot of other little things to chat about here. It all feels just so weird, but I want to talk about the future.
Season 2?
Wait, before I talk about the future, I just want to make sure that we do this before we move on. Because I know we talked a little bit sporadically about each and every person, but I want to make sure we do this right now.
What?
Joe Crandall, Noelle Ann Mabry, Brendan McKay, Gina DeVivo, Jeff Torres, Sarah Oliver,
Andrew Mena.
Andrew Mena, Hannah Mahoney, Havana Mahoney, Dom Zook, and Kevin Allen, our 10 guests of Quests.
Give them a round
who
of applause.
are just so much a part of this show.
Yes.
As much as we are. I mean, I love the guests of Quest. They all did such an epic
all
job.
a part of the magic of telling the story.
Yeah. So I just want to give kudos to all of them and just say their names one more time for everybody.
Yeah, well done.
Make sure you're following all of them on social media and telling them how much you love them. Actually, that's a task right now. I want everybody listening right now to find them on social media, tweet at them and tell them how much you love them on this show. Tell your favorite, tell your second, third, fourth, fifth, tell all 10 of them. I don't care. Tell them how much you love them on this show because they need some love because I don't know that they're listening to these roundtables and hearing us love them. So let them, or like, you know, we're reading the comments, we're reading the reviews, but I don't necessarily know what the guests of Quests are. So like for them to get some feedback, I think is really important.
Yes,
so please do
give
that.
them some love.
Yeah. But hey guys, let's that shit's done. That's over. Let's look to the future.
We did it.
The future,
the past now.
The future is we're redoing it a little bit.
The year 2000.
The future is that we're looking back. Step 1 is looking back a little bit. So as much as season 1 is done being played, there is still more season 1 to explore. I feel like we really hit our stride as far as what the product of D&DW is around chapter 3.
Yes.
There was a little bit more of that less immersive stuff in the prologue and in the first couple episodes. And so what we are going to be doing is I am putting on my fucking George Lucas hat. And
special edition?
We are going to be doing a special edition of the prologue and at least chapters 1 and 2, if not also chapter 3. I think chapter 3 might be fine. So the reason is that people who come to start our show, I think it's evolved. It's kind of different. It's different now.
And many of us found our voice.
Yeah.
By many of us, I mean myself.
So here's the thing: is that the story.
I gave up the voice.
Yeah, pretty much. I started much higher.
The story's not going to change. The quest is not like we're not changing. We're not. No,
not at all.
I will be putting Christensen, whatever that guy's name is. What was the guy that played?
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
God damn it, I ruined the bit. Anyways, Hayden Christensen joke. But yeah, we're not going to be changing anything. We're not adding in new scenes
ghost of
with Jabba the
Hayden
Hutt or nothing like that. We're just going to simply clean up some of those first episodes.
Greedo will now shoot first.
Yes. Just so that they sound more like, and also I think I just got better at sound designing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, over the next few weeks and months, that's what we're going to be. We're going to be re-releasing each episode, and the first few are actually going to be remastered and redone.
Nice.
So that is step 1. While we're doing that, since we won't be recording anything new before season 2, I thought it would be fun to implement yet another contest that we're going to have running in season 2, but that we can start here in season 1 in the mid-break, and that is I want to do an art contest. We alluded to this a little bit on some of the social media and some of our Instagram lives and stuff like that, but if you have a favorite moment from each chapter, or if you just have a character or something you love, a guest of Quest, a character, and you fancy yourself an artist, listen, we don't have to, nobody needs to be Quesada or Todd McFarlane or other references from the 90s. You don't need to be Jim Lee. Can you tell I follow modern comic book artists, you guys? But put your heart into something. And in fact, we need to give a shout out.
And the Mesa, who so delightfully drew Adeline and colored her in and made her so cute. And
did a full 2-page comic.
Yes.
Of a scene from D&DW Pod.
Yes, which I still have to share with the rest of the gang.
Yeah,
I'll show you after.
I didn't know this
existed. It's so cute.
Cool.
Her favorite moment.
What was that social media handle again?
Yes, follow her on And the Mesa. She has an art
the
account.
Mesa,
So
MESA?
ANTHEMESSA.
And the Mesa.
And the Mesa.
And the Mesa.
And sorry for messing up the
Yeah,
pronunciation.
sorry. We don't know.
I'm being very phonetic about it.
Call the voicemail box and correct us. There we go. We can tie everything together. So as we are releasing the each of these episodes, re-releasing them over the next few weeks, we're going to do them kind of rapid fire just because obviously most of them are done. We're going to be doing this to sort of spotlight the show, to create new advertisements for the show, to try to hook in some new listeners, and to try to share. Now that the show is done, I think it's easier to share. People are like, "Hey, listen to the show," and they go, "Oh, how much do I got to go?" You say, "Hey, it's exactly this many episodes. This is where it ends. You'll love it." So that's what our immediate task is right now. We're going to be re-releasing those first couple episodes starting in 2 weeks is my goal. In 2 weeks, we'll start doing the prologue, and then every week from there, we will redo an episode. So it'll take 10 weeks, roughly, or 20 weeks, maybe a few months. Maybe I'll cram a few together in the same week just so we can get to it quicker, because we're going to all get angsty to play season 2 here.
Yes.
So that's step 1 right now. So expect that. And if you and what we're going to do is every time we release an episode, we're just going to name a winner on our social media for the art contest. So tag us in it. Use the hashtag D&DW pod. If you want to create a new hashtag D&DW pod art. That way it's easier for us to search for just the art. And listen, it doesn't have to be in great art. It's just going to be just like the reviews. We are going to put all of the people who create the art into a pool and then chance the winner.
Yeah.
So it's not like, hey, if you're the most exceptional artist and you're a professional, like,
doesn't need to be a Met-worthy piece of art.
Exactly. But we want to encourage your creativity. We want to inspire your
interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just said, we all seeing stuff in our heads differently. We want to see how you see it. That version of Adeline is super unique to her, and I love that. And so that's sort of what we're looking for here. So the D&DW Pod Art Contest is officially active right now, and the first winner will be announced on our social media at D&DW Pod when we released the Prologue Special Edition, which we're looking at about 2 weeks. That's sort of the goal there. Also, moving on to the future, we in our interim, we talked a little bit about this, that we are forming the D&DW Pod Street Team. And the home for the D&DW Pod Street Team is going to be at our Reddit page. That's where everything is going to be sort of the home. I'll just make a D&DW Pod Street Team thread, and that'll be where we can live. I want to call out right now Gloria Foon. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Phun. Foon. Fun. I'm not sure how. Fun. Oh, I like fun. That sounds like, who doesn't like fun? Gloria Fun, you wrote us
hate fun, hate winning
in July. Yeah, you're a real downer today. You're a real Douglas Downer. You wrote us on the emails, the electronic mails, the internet mails.
Emails.
Ways back in July, and we chatted about you helping out with that. So I'm calling you out first. You're going to be one of our tent poles, and the point of the street team is going to be to sort of organize getting the word out about D&DW Pod leading up to the next season as we do these re-releases. So we are going to be creating ads. Hopefully that the street team will help share, help spread. We are also looking for. We're just winging this, right? That's the Dragon Wagon Radio.
Just winging it.
The slogan for a while. Just winging it. We don't know all of the right answers. We don't know the best way to get out there. We're doing the best we can, but we want your suggestions and that sort of stuff. So if you are interested in joining the street team, make sure you head on over and join the Reddit. I think it's r/D&DW pod is how Reddit works, Grandpa. And if you're like, listen, I'm never going to use Reddit, but I still want to help, then just shoot us an email at contact@DWPod, or just shoot us a message on one of our social media accounts.
Any of the
We'll
accounts.
figure out a way to include you. But that is something that I really want to push. And I have a couple ideas. I won't waste time, talking about them here when you guys are like, all right, I want to talk about the show. Yeah, Pod Dog is being real cute right now. Hashtag Campfire Jones. So a couple other things, though, before we talk about the future, is... we're figuring out new ways to include you guys in the show. The first order, like I said, is we're still doing our review contest every roundtable. Now we've got the Dragon Wagon Radio voice mailbox, 516-777-0515. We also have an art contest now for every single one, and including season 2, we'll have those running every roundtable. I thought, let's get them included before we ever even start season 2. Do you remember how we started this show with a very, very fun thing that Paul did,
Yes.
which was the perks and caveats
Oh yeah.
for our characters. So I thought it would be a really fun time if instead of offering only 10 potential caveats, which Paul will offer regardless, we're going to offer 20 potential perks and caveats, and those extra 10 of each will be suggested by you, the listener. You, the listener, can affect the entire game. If Matt didn't roll and Matson end up with a little girl or somebody he's after, we would have never had that.
Yeah.
If Adeline didn't get Idlewild, we would have never gotten insight into her backstory. Like I would have never been clumsy. Junk could have never been clumsy, and that affected so much of our gameplay. So you can have a major effect on our season. And simply the way that you're going to do this is you're simply going to tweet at D&DW pod and use the hashtag or use at D&DW pod, tag us in it, and use the hashtag D&DW perks and caveats. And we're just going to, over the course of the next couple months, acquire all of those. And again, we want everybody to suggest a perk and a caveat. I think that's fun. And you know what? You can suggest more than one, but we're only going to choose one of yours to put in the pool if we end up with that. What we're going to do is we're going to pick our favorite 10. Unlike the other contests, this we will just decide.
A little more biased.
We'll pick our favorite 10 of perks and our favorite 10 of caveats and add those to Paul's 10 perks and caveats. And that very well could change the course of the entire game. So that you can start doing right now. Today, you can start giving those to us and just don't stop. Let them keep coming in until season 2. And I think that'll be a really fun way to launch with our prologue for season 2.
I'm excited. That's fun.
Yeah, I love that part. And
just be super wacky and creative with it. Like,
Yeah.
If anytime Alexandra sees a jar of mayonnaise, she has to put her hand in it.
It's weird that one was specific to Alexandra.
It's her fetish.
What happens if I
Based
get
on me.
If I get that, is it a perk for me?
It's a perk. Yeah, it makes her do that. And Jake's character carries a portrait of himself. It's like the Dorian Gray caveat. If he looks at it, he ages rapidly.
No, yeah. Honestly, those are both perfect examples.
Yeah.
They don't have to be all funny or wacky
No.
either. They can be like
Very serious.
yeah.
If you have an idea that you think is a really fun perk and caveat, then throw that at us at D&DW pod on Twitter. I think that's a really fun way to sort of include listeners in the downtime, and then also immediately, once we start up season 2. So with that said, Paul, can you tell us anything about season 2 yet? Can you give us any little nuggets?
Any nuggets? How much do you want me to give?
Like a 20 piece for $5?
It's like a 4-piece.
I'm going to
kids
take a
meal.
virtual high five across the room, Matt. Yeah, nailed it.
Wow.
Well, I alluded to it in the story that
The epilogue.
the epilogue that was happening with Orny. Orny being brought to the realm or the region of Fjormire, which basically the map of Rymor, you know where the Softlands heads off into. Fjormire is northeast of that region, and in fact there were missionaries from Fjormire that were hanging out at the bottom of the river that
Sansi River?
The bottom of the Sansi River that exited out into the Shuddering Gulf. So that's the region that we were heading to next. It's the same region that Orny was heading to on a diplomatic mission, and that there's something wrong in Fjormire.
Something is happening in Fjormire.
Something is happening.
The Fjormire reason.
Fjormire reason.
It doesn't quite work
No,
the same
it sure
way.
doesn't. Sort of like Rymor, that combined two words that rime is like a coating of ice, and a moor is a like hilly Scottish Highland sort of region.
Right.
Fjormire is the fusion of fjord and a mire, which is like a swamp. So again, it's since it's slightly more north away from the southern pole, it's a little bit warmer. And there are more shenanigans there. I don't know how much you want me to tell.
It's as much as you want. I don't really care. You can give as much as you'd like. This is your, it's a DM's choice. Again,
man.
it's nice to give people little things, and then they go,
Little
"Oh,
taste.
I can't wait for
A
that."
lot of people have been asking.
I mean, can you tell us? Maybe again, this is up to you to decide whether you want to spoil this or not. But can you tell us what the inhabitants like? We knew that Rymor was all gnomes. humans and elves.
Yeah, Fjormire's main contingent is human. However, just because just because of the makeup of the land, to the west there are Sibulans, because the Sibulans, as we know, were driven
out of Rymor
for the most part. So they have tribal communities over there. We are just below the kingdom of Morganfall, which is the expanding Shadow Elf kingdom. So
all right.
There's overlap. There would be traveling dwarves and gnomes that have moved east and north just because, but it's not going to be as huge of a population. There, of course, are going to be some elves. One of the things that is a larger part of Fjormire is religion. And so, as we know with religion, that a religion attracts all sorts of people. And so you might see a collection of different groups together, all united by this religion. We're going to let our characters decide how they feel about this religion.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
we're very excited.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to start anew.
I know.
Also, we're gonna try not to draw too big of a circle around this, because who knows how long in the future people listening it didn't affect them. We do apologize for the delays in the second half of this season. We're gonna fix that next season and figure out a way to make sure that we have a better schedule so that you can reliably know when to expect a show. But we are taking this few months to build up to it, to get ourselves prepared to do these re-records and the re-edits of season 1, re-release those, do some advertising, maybe get some really fun art, and throw some new shirts out into the shop. Make sure you're checking out dragonwagonshop.com for some really awesome. There's like 3 new D&DW pod shirts that are season 1 related, the characters you know and love, that are on deck right now, that should be hitting the shop very soon. You won't be hearing from us in the podcast feed necessarily, but please make sure you are following at D&DW pod on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We will be going live every now and then. Alexander and I started doing that. I think we should start going live and then just chatting with you guys and catching up. Also, make sure you're rating and reviewing us on iTunes.
I'd also like to add that if you've enjoyed the way that I've DM'd this season, and you think, hey, I really like the ideas that Paul has for in terms of fantasy storytelling, I also would like to bring up that I have a couple of books on the site Wattpad. That's WATTPAD, and you can find me there at the Paul Bianchi. The book in question that is fantasy is called High Water and Glass. It's about a female warrior and a male wizard and their coming of age friendship in the face of adventure and adversity. And secondly, there is a sci-fi book that I wrote called Prospect Paradigm, and it ended up winning the Waddy Award at the end of September. So again, building my viewership and readership up there, and it might just hold you over.
I mean, I was going to give a section for everybody to go through plugs, but Paul doesn't really need to jump in there. So I guess we'll do that now.
Plugs.
Matt, do you have anything that you want to send the people to while we're on our little break?
Check out Sorry for Your Loss Season 2 on Facebook Watch.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Sorry for Your Loss Season 2, Facebook Watch, you guys.
Not at all involved in the creative aspect.
But he was there.
I was there.
Oh, boy.
Alexandra?
I'm only going to plug a show that we need to release some episodes for. If you want to hear more of Jake and me in particular, then you can check out our pro wrestling podcast, Me, You, and 30, where we watch the Royal Rumbles.
Me, You, and 30 Other Men. Say the whole title.
Me, You, and 30 Other Men.
Make people really excited about it.
Me, You, and 30 Other Men.
Oh, yeah. I guess sexy.
And even if you're a brand new, spanking new beginner, you don't really need to know a lot to just jump in and have fun and fall in love with the world.
Yes, and for myself, do that as well. Also, check out Me, You, and 30 Other Men. Check out
any other show on the network.
Check out every show on Dragon Wagon, dragonwagonradio.com. Check out the shop. Do all the fun stuff. What else? I think that's it.
That's really it.
I think that's it, guys. We did a lot of good work today.
But you can reach out to us anytime.
Do you want to do that on the air?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we're not done yet because Matt has a surprise. It looks like he came in with a box.
He did.
And I guess we're doing this on the air. All right. Go ahead. This is fun.
Or anyone else that gives gifts.
I got gifts for everybody.
Oh.
So appreciative.
Oh, it's like a
what
spirit
everyone has
blade, a ring that sucks our magic out of us.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead, just take your time.
I hope it's a creepy sundial.
You hope it's a creepy sundial?
Yeah.
I hope it is too. I'm going to expose it to the light and we'll see what happens there.
All right.
I can't believe Matt
Paul-
got gifts for people.
He's
Paul
so
first.
sweet.
See, I knew about this one, but that's the only. I didn't realize that it was like a all-encompassing thing.
Yeah.
I know
You've
about
done
stuff.
so much for us, Paul. I don't have to go into detail with the world you've created and spending all this time putting everything together. And I had a blast, and I think you did a fantastic job.
Here.
This is just a small.
Just a
Thank you
small
so
little
much.
token.
This is
Appreciation.
It's actually huge for listeners.
yeah. I mean, it's a framed something. It is beautiful wrapping paper.
It is. and wrapping job.
Like I
Yeah.
said,
Maybe just leave it.
we're a real. We paint pictures on this podcast. That's what we do. We're real immersive.
Yeah,
We're very
Close your
immersive.
eyes.
It is
The description of this wrapping paper will be best in headphones.
multicolored shades of blue gray in a chevron
Chevron,
pattern.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
it's really it's just my style. If I had a shirt like this, I would wear it.
I'm gonna do this last little piece on Instagram Live.
Ooh.
So some of you might have already have heard this.
I'm thrilled with whatever this is.
All right, open it up.
Oh wow, look at this.
What did you get?
You know,
You know.
this is incredible.
Aw.
Thank you so much. Look at
Yeah.
this.
It's all.
It's
Paul's
every
art.
single piece of art. Thank you. That's really
It's
thoughtful.
so
Cool.
beautiful.
I loved all the art you did. I was like, it's so cool, and I don't know. I hope that you're proud of every piece that you did, and I want it to be on in one place.
Thank you.
Jake was a big help in putting that together. I have to say.
I did
So
the
thank Jake
photoshops.
also. Yeah.
I compiled them for you.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks,
Good.
man.
Good. I'm glad you like it.
I had thought about doing a big photo grid of all the art because, you know, my entire life I for a long time I thought I was going to be a comic book artist, and then I realized that any project that I started with art that I wouldn't ever finish it. And so not only was this the first campaign that I've ever finished, but this was also like the first like
Artistic
illustrated art series that I've
Yeah.
ever finished.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that made me really happy. I think my favorite one was the one with the alligator underneath.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite as well. I
It's-
love it. And also, isn't that have what's his face in the trees, which I did not notice at
Yeah.
Oh
first.
yeah, Mongrel's
Mongrel.
two eyes. Yeah.
I really love that.
Beautiful.
I felt bad making it so small because there's so many little details in each individual piece. But
Check it
yeah,
out.
you get it.
How lovely.
I love it.
You're so thoughtful.
And
Thank you.
He
if you
is.
look at it from a couple feet away, it's actually a sailboat.
Oh, yes. Wait, it's like a magic
scooter
eye.
is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sailboat.
Oh, ooh! I see boobs.
You see boobs?
Yeah.
It's like a Rorschach
your
block.
artwork.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Jake.
Uh-oh.
If people listening, I don't know if you guys know just how much work Jake puts into every single episode of D&DW Pod. They're about like an hour and 20 minutes each one, give or
Roughly,
take.
some are of like, they go from pretty much 55 to an hour 20.
Yeah. So for every single episode, Jake is essentially doing sound mixing and effects for an entire film.
A feature film.
A film's worth of post work every single episode, and that's just a ton of work. And Jake wants it to sound amazing, and it always does. And we appreciate it. It really makes it sound like something special and unique, and not just something that's thrown together.
Oh, I appreciate
so
that.
I got you this little something.
Oh, geez Louise, look at the size of this thing. Oh my God, it feels like a pillow.
It's a sponge cake.
Also wrapped with multicolored wrapping paper. All right, I'm gonna tear it open here.
This one's more colorful to match your personality.
Oh. Alrighty,
You might not
I'm
know
opening.
just from looking right at it.
Oh
but-
my God, it is exactly what I need while sitting and editing all the time
Yes.
because I'm a 90-year-old man and all I do is complain about chairs and sitting and crap. And now I got a lumbar pillow. Did you get this off of the Amazon wish
I
list?
sure did.
Oh, you guys, wait a minute. I'm gonna try it out right now.
It's like a car seat.
Oh, you guys, it doesn't work on this chair at all. I need a new chair because the back falls out. But I love it. Oh, thanks, Matt. You know how many times I put that in my Amazon cart and then I go, oh, I can't. I'll wait on this. And now I have it.
Nishap261 says Matt is as tall as he is as sweet of heart.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome, Matt. Thank you.
Good.
Perfect.
Good. You deserve that and more. All right, one more thing.
It's a beef pot
One
pie
more
for
many
Alan.
things.
Oh, is it multi-pieced?
And one's for you.
Oh,
What's
This
happening?
one's for.
they're heavy.
Wait,
What is
is
this?
this
There
for
you
me?
go.
Matt, you're so sweet.
And there's one for me too.
Oh, you got one too?
Yeah.
We're all gonna open it together.
Okay.
Okay, wait. I gotta put the phone down though. Hang on.
Okay, yes.
Hang on.
Figure
let
out
me
the
do
best
this.
angle for
I went
everyone.
on Instagram Live and I regret
Yeah,
my
yeah.
decision. There we go. I'm gonna put it on Matt this time because we watched other people open.
That's
stuff.
true.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right, let's do it.
Ready? 3, 2. Tear it open, you guys.
Okay.
What is it?
Oh my God.
It is.
I've been wanting one of these.
Yeah.
It is a giant emerald
Of our
wait,
color.
we
Wow.
got- oh, there! It's a giant
Show
D20
listeners.
of all. This is the one that I got,
Wow, look at that.
I'm opening it up.
and they're character color
love them.
coordinated.
Cool.
Oh, I
These
love
are great.
that. These are fantastic.
Mine is a gray for Matson.
Oh, I love it. And Paul
Yes.
and Orny. Oh, these are great, you guys.
Now we have to throw them on the table.
No, actually, they're plastic. Maybe I don't know.
No, I,
I don't
feel
know.
like they damage your
They're
tip.
resin.
I throw it and then it's a giant.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All right,
Matt.
That was
Thank
really
you.
kind
Thank
of
you
you.
guys so much.
I now I feel like we all have to go get Matt something, you guys.
Nah.
Yeah, we do.
The podcast itself is the gift. Thank you for
Aw.
allowing me to join you all in this.
Oh, I knew the second that we played another game that I was going to include you in the show because
Cool.
you are the type of person who I want to do something creative with because you are a creative type of person, but you're not like the traditional performer.
Yeah.
And I knew that having you on the show would anchor us into a actual D&D game
Okay.
instead of like Paul and I trying to outperform each other, like that kind of shit. And it was like, no, like I liked having you and also you decisive and stuff like that. So of course I'd do it with you.
Okay, good.
And I wouldn't do it without you. And I wouldn't do it without that
I'm so
guy.
thrilled to be here too. And this was my first time really playing a full campaign and really performing and learning a lot about that process.
Yeah.
Jake's a very tough director, but I appreciate all that you do.
I
to
rule
teach
with
me
an
and
iron fist.
I appreciate it immensely.
Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than thank you guys so much for listening to season 1 of Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, The Rhyme or Reason. Stay tuned, and we will be re-releasing those first few episodes. We're going to be doing those enhanced editions. What should we call them? Special editions?
Remastered.
Remastered. We're going to be doing the remasters of the prologue and chapters 1 and 2. Now, those are going to just be uploaded into the same spot on like your feeds. So when you see them posted about online, they're not going to pop up as a new show. You're going to have to scroll back and re-download or just re-listen to the prologue, and that will be the updated version.
We'll let you know all the
I should
deets.
specify that. But yeah.
Yeah, director's cut. LED Coyote says director's
The
cut.
director's cut.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Yes.
I remember.
LED knows how to play to my ego. He really does.
I remember LED Coyote.
Yeah, he won our
Yeah,
chapter
yeah.
9 round table, and is an incredible person who wrote us a very kind email. We love you, LED. Anything else, you guys? Does anybody have any closing thoughts? I always wrap this up with a bunch of shit, and I just don't even know what to say anymore.
I know.
We're good.
I feel just like an empty shell now because I've
Aw.
SHEL.
SHEL,
Shell.
yes.
Yeah,
Like an
'cause I-
empty old world wizard.
because I've just like I feel like I've said everything I need to say. I'm just now like a rolled up tube of toothpaste.
Oh, I love that visual. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. We do hope you will stick around during our break and during season 2.
Yes.
There's a lot more
lot of
quests
goodies.
to come and a lot more fun and joy and murder and mayhem. And again, that the voicemail box will be open indefinitely, so send those in. We love you guys. We love you.
Thank you so much.
And let's do it all together like we did in the end of chapter 10. We will see you next quest.
It's Dragon Wagon.